Marks tonight, and I'm pleased to see you've got your old strength back. You've got your power back.
Yeah, I'm just back to my old self here.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm delighted that your book is out.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment to see. I never thought it was going to make much of a difference to me one way or the other, because all of the information in my book is available on my website.
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of funny to see, everything put in book form and it being out there. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Well, I think it'll be a big hit.
Well, whatever. It's the Lord's. Whatever He wants to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work I did for Him. The sites are His. Often I'm doing things that I look back at in retrospect and that was good, And sometimes I just have no idea why I say the things I do or why I do them. But when you look back, it's like, oh, I'm glad I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just going to be one of those things.
What I was calling about tonight is I've directed a lot of people to your site, and they'll look at it, and they'll be able to relate to some parts of it, and the typical reaction is they become frightened.
Yeah.
And they say, well, if I have a relationship with the Lord, He'll let me know at the last moment, or if things happen, I'll just wait until they happen.
But they don't get it that He's letting them know right now because He's using you as a vessel to get them to the information.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing them right now. He's trying to wake them up right now, and they're saying, oh, no, Lord will show me later. People never recognize how He works.
Oh, I agree with you.
He's using you as a tool to get them to the sites, to get them to the information. And most of it, when I started looking at some of the stuff years before I even started, there were sites I would scream and get out of, and a year later, the Lord would take me right back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something there He wanted me to grasp, and I think the first time I ever landed on David Ickey's sites was one of those I screamed and ran off of. And then I just kept going back about a year or so later because he has information on there that I needed to see.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the Lord will do. He'll just lead people back and back and back until they get it. But you know what? We're running out of time.
We are.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
People need the information that you're presenting on your site desperately. They need it now, and they need to be able to have enough time to digest it psychologically so that when the bad times come, they won't be taken unaware, they won't be frightened, they'll have a better sense of being prepared.
Yeah, one of his biggest things is that we just wake up. We don't have to be right. We don't have to be right in every single point and area we hit, but the thing is that you can flex and you can recognize when something's coming that you didn't think was right. At least you're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the curveball comes, you're kind of prepared for that. You're prepared for the curveballs. Because He always says things are going to happen we don't expect, and I've always thought, well, I pretty much have a good handle on a lot of things, but even I'm going to be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And so that goes for everybody. And so nobody has the whole handle on anything. But you need to be prepared for the curveballs, and that's all I'm trying to do is get people prepared for things that can happen. And I can tell people what I know, but then, there's so much more that I don't.
A lot of people heard you on Rents, and I think that helped a lot. It got a new audience. It exposed you to people who had never heard it before.
Right. I don't know. It amazes me that the server was packed out, and I've wanted to know exactly how many people listened to that show. I don't think I've ever even packed out my own server here. And so it's amazing. Jeff's got an incredible audience, and the interview was kind of frustrating. I don't like to be led. I like to just go.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me loose and talk and teach and whatever, and I don't like to be led question by question. So it was different, but I enjoy the new audience. I know, our network audience is growing weekly as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, the truth's just going to get out there one way or the other. I think the book being out there, too, I have it advertised on different websites. I think this week it's being advertised at powerlineblog.com and weirdspot.com. I'm trying to hitting both areas, going from one to the extreme, just to get it out there. And people can go to my sites and get the info off my sites. They don't have to buy the book.
Well, that is wonderful, and it's good information, and I think you've got the best array of information out there.
Well, thank you. People thought I thought I was crazy when I got into the alien agenda. But I've seen how important it is now that I look at it in these last days, because this Sananda and this Maitreya, they're coming. They're already here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was looking at the Antichrist code last night, all week long, different Antichrist codes. And the one thing that struck me was, a couple of years ago when I looked at the Antichrist code, I remember at the time Prince Harry was dominant. And so I put that on my website at hiddencodes.com, put the code for Prince Harry, because he is a candidate, he's a player. But I think we've seen things over the years change to where now America, because of the choices we've made as a country, America is not going to be dominant. I think before we were setting ourselves up to become the dog tail or cat tail of the European empire, and the United States somewhere along the line has decided to become its own empire. And so the cards changed. When we change roads, things change that are going to happen in our future. That's why nothing is set in stone. And so now we go from the Prince Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry candidates to more of a U.S.-based candidate. And if you looked in the Bible, it's probably been there all along, where the Old Testament prophets said the king of Babylon would be the Antichrist. Babylon is the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so, looking at these codes and seeing this Maitreya, and of course the term Kenya and arrive, we're right inside the term Antichrist, and we know that he was in Nairobi, Kenya a couple of years ago. And so this is already, it's just picking it up. He's already been here. We know Sananda, and between the two of them, I keep seeing them coming. And whoever comes, the Sananda or Maitreya, and I'm going to remind everybody, they're not the Antichrist as much as they are the second beast, the false prophet, because they're going to come in the name of Jesus, that they're the Messiah, the deliverer, and that's the role they're going to play. And they're going to come with some kind of concordance, some kind of treaty, and everybody's thinking this is the Treaty of Daniel, and I just don't think it's the Treaty of Daniel. I think they're going to come with a different treaty. I think it's going to be this Nasera thing that simply just kind of rolls over and affects the Middle East, because it promises peace and prosperity to everybody. Because that's the basic whole thing about Nasera, is it's a peace and prosperity doctrine. And I think that's what they're going to come. Maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm missing the boat on it, and it's something totally else. But they are going to come, and they're going to have a proclamation. They're going to have some kind of a treaty that they are going to persuade the world to get involved in. And so that's what's going to happen when they arrive. One of them. There
have been more and more news announcements and even postings on Rents regarding exactly what you're talking about. In the last month there have been several news articles about the government of India desiring to make public and official their knowledge of UFOs in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
And then today there was a rather extensive article on these Anunnaki and others wanting to make contact with us, and that it's for our own good and to help evacuate people who are spiritually evolved.
Yes.
And
whole soul track, growing, and yeah. It kind of goes along with the esoteric theologies and the New Age, and when everybody's evolving, the only thing they're evolving into is complete stupidity. Alien theology and dogma is becoming dominant. And you're going to start hearing a lot of churches support it because the beast prophets work for him to begin with. And you're going to start hearing this more and more about evolving into more of a spiritual being, and everybody else is going to get left behind because you're just going to keep evolving into a spiritual being, and it's all a bunch of hogwash. The only thing Jesus ever said was, "Come to me." He didn't say change your frequencies.
No.
Even if you wanted to change the lingo and say, well, that's just New Age lingo, the concept is still the same. We can't do anything on ourselves. All we have to do is come to Him, and He transforms us, He changes us as we seek Him. And so it's a two-way relationship building type thing, and it's nothing we can do on our own. We don't sit and evolve ourselves.
I saw an excellent article on your blogger today about developing a relationship with God and how to do that. I thought that was very instructive and better than anything I'd heard in any of the churches.
How to love the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I was sitting there the other night, and I knew I had to write something on my blogger because people panic if I go 2 or 3 days without writing something. And so I was like, well, Lord, what do you want me to write about? Usually He gives me some kind of thought or idea of something to write about. And I just said, never mind, I'm doing this one for you. And so I wrote that on how to love the Lord to kind of give the people some encouragement and motivation on how to love Him, how to learn how to love Him, because it's one of the biggest things we miss is that people don't ask Him. It's one of the simple things we can do is ask Him to teach us how to love Him. And it's one of the most amazing experiences and growth things you can go through if you just start asking him to teach you how to love him.
Mm-hmm.